Let's now shift our focus to the great power competition between China and the United States. China, you see, is flexing its muscle at sea by sending its next-generation warship on sea trials. The Fujian is China's most advanced aircraft carrier. It is equipped with state-of-the-art technologies and is supposed to be Beijing's answer to the U.S. Navy's mighty carrier, USS Gerald R. Ford. But is the Fujian really a match for the American carrier? China already has 3 aircraft carriers. Does it really need more? And why are aircraft carriers so important? Tonight on Gravitas Deep Dive, we will tell you all about the evolution of aircraft carriers. The story starts in the early years of the 20th century. In November 1910, an American pilot, Eugene Ely, flew a plane off a specially built platform on the deck of the U.S. cruiser Birmingham. And then in January 1911, Ely landed on a platform that was built on the quarter deck of the battleship Pennsylvania. Ely did this by using wires attached to the sandbags on the platform as arresting gear. He then took off from the same ship. During World War I, the British Navy experimented with the carrier by developing the first true carrier with an unobstructed flight deck. It was called the HMS Argus, and it was built on a converted merchant ship hull. HMS Argus never saw any action as the war ended, but it set a groundbreaking precedent. This precedent changed how countries project their power. The US and Japanese navies quickly followed the British example. In March 1922, the USS Langley became the first American carrier to join the fleet. The Japanese carrier, the Hoseo, entered service in December of the same year. The Hoseo was the first carrier designed from the keel up, as such, marking a significant milestone in naval history. Let me now tell you a little bit more about aircraft carriers. Simply put, they are airfields on the sea. They have special features due to their size and location. The ship is turned into the wind to increase air speeds over the deck, making it easier for planes to take off and land. Additionally, catapults on the flight deck help launch planes, and hooks on the planes engage wires on the deck to stop them quickly upon landing. The island on the carrier is where the control centers are located. Radio, radar, visual signals guide the planes when they land. And that is how these powerful ships operate. I'm sure you know about Japan's Pearl Harbor attack. On December 7, 1941, Japan staged a surprise attack on the U.S. naval base in Hawaii. It decimated America's Pacific Fleet, as a result of which America entered the war. Japan's attack by carrier-based planes showed the world the potential of aircraft carriers. After the war, aircraft carriers had larger size and armored flight decks. Even after 100 years, the dominance of aircraft carriers remains unparalleled. Jet-powered airplanes started to emerge towards the end of World War II, and this led to innovations in the design of the aircraft carriers. Innovations like the use of angled landing strips. These angled strips would lift approximately 9 feet off the ship's main axis. It basically allowed for a safer landing. And some of the most notable aircraft carriers of World War II are the USS Enterprise, the HMS Ark Royal, and Germany's Bismarck battleship. And then, 34 years after Eugene Ely's warship aircraft landing in 1911, British Royal Navy's Eric Brown became the first person to take off and land on an aircraft carrier in a jet aircraft. On December 3, 1945, he flew a de Havilland Sea Vampire to HMS Ocean, where he landed and then took off again. Eric Brown is the most decorated pilot in the history of the Royal Navy. In the 1950s, the invention of the helicopter led to the invention of a new type of aircraft carrier, the helicopter carrier. These were smaller as they only needed space for vertical takeoffs. Which brings us to the nuclear age of carriers. You see, after World War II, the nuclear age brought on further innovations in aircraft carriers. Take the example of USS Enterprise. Nuclear reactors were installed in warships, and these reactors allowed the ships to operate for a much longer period than they were previously capable of. And you know what that means? It means large-scale missions far from home became more feasible. The nuclear reactor, in fact, was one of the main innovations that brought us to the modern aircraft carrier. Now, these aircraft carriers are called super carriers. The Nimitz-class carriers of the US Navy are among the biggest aircraft carriers today. Super carriers use state-of-the-art technology, including unmanned drones, 3D air search radar, Sea Sparrow missiles. Today, some of the best aircraft carriers of the world are US's Gerald R. Ford class, US's Nimitz class, UK's Queen Elizabeth class, Russia's Admiral Kuznetsov, China's Liaoning, and India's INS Vikramaditya and INS Vikrant. The world's largest aircraft carrier today is the USS Gerald R. Ford. Before China's next-gen Fujian, the USS Gerald R. Ford was equipped with new electromagnetic aircraft launch systems. It has a 78-meter wide flight deck. It can carry over 75 aircraft and over 5,000 personnel. Countries can order their aircraft to do anything they want, including ordering it into combat. You see, in today's world, an aircraft carrier's job includes airstrikes against terrorist groups and also dropping guided bombs on enemies. But combat is not the only mission aircraft carriers are used for. They are also used for humanitarian assistance, disaster relief missions. They are also an instrument of intimidation. Aircraft carriers allow a country to project their military power. They can be used to show support for allies, like the US did for Taiwan against China, and they can be used to deter hostile countries from aggressive action. They can also be used for intelligence gathering. Plus the fact that they are nearly impossible to sink. That makes aircraft carriers undoubtedly a powerful symbol of national strength. To stay up to speed with the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.